What do a small town shop, quiet hiking trail, volunteers helping the community, and a tune passed down for generations have in common? They're all part of the fabric of life here, and they're exactly the kind of stories we'll be telling. Welcome to In Brown County, your front porch, the people, places, and stories that make Brown County, Indiana, one of a kind. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, and every week we bring you conversations with local voices, behind the scenes looks at events, and the best of small town life. Whether you're a longtime local or a weekend wanderer, there's something here for you. Let's get into it. Hi there. I'm Chris Schneider, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. This podcast was born out of a simple idea that stories happening around us are worth sharing. Whether it's a local tradition, a new event, a behind-the-scenes look at how things work in our community, In Brown County is here to capture the moments that make this place feel like home. It's laid back, it's real, and it's rooted in the idea that local life deserves to be celebrated. But before I get into telling you about the podcast, I wanted to take a second to introduce myself. As I mentioned, my name is Chris Schneider, and I'm the host of In Brown County. And I feel like for most of us, one of the things that we get asked a lot, and I could say this definitely as someone who moved here about 5 years ago, is how did you end up in Brown County? So I want to start the podcast by addressing that question. Now, how I came to Brown County is kind of an interesting story. I have family roots here, but I was born and raised in Indianapolis. For the family roots, we have to go back to my grandfather. So after World War II, my grandfather and a friend of his were doctors in the Navy, and they were looking for a place to set up a medical practice. And my grandfather was Ken Schneider, for those of you who that remember him, but his partner was Bob Seibel, who worked in Brown County a lot longer than he did. And so in 1947, they moved here with their wives and set up a medical practice. And my grandfather lived here from 1947 until 1965. My dad grew up here. He was born in 1954. And so for the first 11 or so years of his life, he lived in Brown County, and they lived on Artist Drive. And so this was very formative in his life, this Brown County experience and what Brown County is. When he was looking to retire, he decided to retire to Brown County, like many people that grow up in the county and then move away do. Now, unfortunately, he passed away about 5 years ago from cancer, but he was in the process of building his house down here in Brown County. Now, with the advent of high-speed internet in the middle of the woods, I had the wonderful opportunity of finishing his house and moving down here and enjoying this wonderful Brown County lifestyle. As time has gone on, when I moved down here, it was COVID, so I wasn't terribly involved in things, but I've tried to get myself more and more involved in the community. And currently, among other things that I do around the county, I am on the Redevelopment Commission. So if you watch or listen to anything about the Redevelopment Commission, there's a chance that you'll see me there. But really, what this podcast is about for me is telling the stories of the wonderful things that happen here. And so let me paint a quick picture for you of what that is going to look like as the podcast goes forward. You can imagine stepping into a little shop, the kind that's been open for years, where folks greet you by name. If you live here, there are lots of those. If you're a tourist, they may not greet you by name, but I promise you, all the stores will greet you. Life down here can also look like taking a walk down the trails and just listening to nature and the woods around you. Or life down here could be hearing a familiar melody played. There's so many of the wonderful local musicians that we have in the county that takes you back to memories that you have either in Brown County or from your youth or outside of Brown County. But that is going to be the heartbeat of the podcast. We are going to talk some about the big moments in life, but because the small ones are what makes Brown County feel so alive, that's also where we're going to focus a lot of the time on this podcast. I know a lot of you are probably wondering, okay, we have a newspaper, we have magazines. Why do we need a podcast for Brown County? But there's something so powerful about audio and video. In a world full of noise, this podcast is set up to provide a way for local voices to be heard. In Brown County is really about a space for connection, where we can reflect, celebrate, and learn a little bit more about what's happening around us. We're not here to break the news or to sell you anything. We're here to listen, to share, and to remind ourselves what makes this community such a special place to live in. If you live here, this podcast is for you, a way to stay plugged in, hear familiar voices, and maybe discover something new. If you're just visiting, welcome. You'll get a feel for what makes our corner of the world something so different and so much beyond what you would see in a guidebook or a travel brochure or on a map. If you're new to the area, Think of this as your invitation to settle in one story at a time and learn about this new place that you've decided to call home. And if you're involved in the community, whether you're running something, building something, or creating something, we want to hear from you and help tell your story to your neighbor. Each week, we'll bring you conversations about local life. As I mentioned, we'll talk about seasonal happenings and community projects, behind the scenes looks at how everything here comes together. And really, we're focusing on everything that happens in the county. It could be history, it could be culture, it could be events, it could be local challenges, things to do. But we're going to bring you all that in a relaxed manner and a down-to-earth tone. So really don't think of this podcast as a way to stay in the know, but more of a way to be curious about the county and people around you. So as we go through our first season, we'll explore everything from how the season shaped the rhythms of life here to the people working quietly behind the scenes to keep this place operating. We'll look at what makes Brown County tick, the traditions that are kept alive, how events bring people together, and how businesses, artists, and neighbors shape the local story. Whether you're listening from your kitchen table, your car, or your front porch, we're glad to have you with us. Now, at the end of every episode, I'm going to ask each guest 3 questions about our county, the same 3 questions every time. And so I want to introduce those questions to you and give you my answers. What is one word that describes Brown County to you? And to me, that word is tranquil. It's the tranquility of the woods, the gorgeous beauty of nature, and the tranquility that we have built in this wonderful community of people helping other people. The next question is, what is your favorite local meal or treat? Now here, I have to admit, I'm kind of a carnivore. So my favorite local treat, if I'm really honest, is the pork chop at Nashville Chop House. Now it's huge. There's no way anyone, I think, can eat that in one sitting. But my kind of trick, eat the pork chop while you're there, cut off that bacon, that pork belly that goes along the bone, and I bring it home and use it to make biscuits and gravy in the morning, which is a great way to have a great treat at night and a great treat the next morning. And the final question I'm going to ask every guest is, what's your favorite way to spend a Saturday here? Now, personally, my favorite way is usually just relaxing, enjoying nature. I have a pond. You can see it behind me if you're watching the video. And I fish on it, go swimming. Those are how most of my Saturday afternoons are spent. If I'm going to go and venture, say, into Nashville, one of my favorite ways to spend a Saturday afternoon is just walking around, seeing the people, and really taking in what makes our community so special. So thank you for joining me for this first episode of In Brown County. I look forward to getting to know all of you and helping to tell your stories in the coming months. Thanks for joining us on In Brown County. If you like today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a review, and share with someone who loves Brown County as much as you do. We'll see you next week, right here on the front porch.